So on your walk, you must have met some interesting people along the way. Tell me about some of the people you met. Have you got any stories that you could tell us about?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I met just about every nutter you could possibly think of for a start. Some of the most bizarre characters ever. There was a woman who I met in Plymouth who, when she found out what I was doing, she started crying and then she started just taking money out of her purse to give me money. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't need any money. I just want a signature on a petition. And she's like, bless you, you're doing this so you can see your kid. And then I had to console her and explain to her, I was like, no, no, it's not so I can see my kid more. It's so my kid doesn't have to go through what I went through to see his kid more. And she actually ended up following me on pretty much every social media thing going, and she still to this day messages me at least once a week to check them all. I met some very interesting characters on the way around. I met a guy. I'm not going to name him on here because as soon as I do, he's going to get flooded. But I met a guy in Barnstable who not only put me up for a few days, but he gave me a flyby on a cliff face, and it turns out he's an actual wizard as a Mackenzie friend, and he can perform genuine magic tricks in a courtroom. But I'll leave it for him to explain that one day. I was on the Wales Coast Path, in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I was absolutely knackered. And I remember this: there was two women walking towards me, vigorously walking with their sticks. And I was like, "All right, game face on. They're definitely going to ask." They stopped me, said, "Well, what is it you do?" And I explained it to them, and they both looked at each other quite sheepishly. And they were like, "Oh God!" And I was like, "Oh, have you been affected by this too?" They're like, "No, no, we actually work for Kafkas. We're Kafkas officers." And I was like, "Oh God, this is going to be awkward." Both of them signed the petition there and then. They actually scanned the QR code on my phone to sign it. I was like, what is, I did not expect that. I thought you were going to like come up with a clause. And they're like, no, it's been awful for years, pretty much since Kafka started. As soon as you tell anybody you're a Kafka officer, they just think you're trying to take my kids away. But we're so heavily burdened with protocol, not just policy, protocol, case numbers. In every way you can be overburdened, they are. And then to add to the fact that they're actually dealing with high conflict parents that are just trying to see their kids day in and day out. How these people have managed to stay sane this long, I have absolutely no idea. But they stood there and explained, it's like, no, it needs to change. There needs to be something, whatever it is, we don't know, but something needs to change. Now, then I explained to them my idea of 50-50, because a lot of people just go, it should be 50-50 equal parenting. It's only fair, but it's a very blanket thing to say when you put it that way. What I'm suggesting isn't that everybody gets 50 equal parenting. I'm saying that that should be the starting point.
Yeah.
If you walk into a family courtroom, the judge, before he hears anything, it says, I know you two have made this kid together. So as it currently stands, I don't care what your background is. You're both equally responsible for that child. Now the burden of proof should be telling me why that can't be the case. And then the only other thing for that to work that we need to be in place is there being some form of deterrent or punishment for lying. Because I mean, this is one of the biggest things that blew my mind when I went through the court process is that you can go in there and say absolutely anything.